31 seconds. That is how long it took a man named Gary to make a room full of adults doubt what they had just seen with their own eyes. He never raised his voice. He never threatened anyone. He smiled, tilted his head and said, "I think you're remembering that wrong." And they believed him. We are going to put this moment under a microscope. Not the man, the method. Because Gary is not special. Gary is a pattern. And once you see the pattern, you cannot unsee it. The bully you picture in your head is loud. He corners you. He shouts. But that kind is easy. You can name him. You can walk away. The dangerous ones are quiet. They smile while they cut. They make you apologize for being hurt. And when you try to explain what they did, you sound insane. And they sound calm. That gap between how you feel and how you sound. That is the weapon. But to understand how a soft voice beats a loud one, we have to answer a stranger question. First, why does the human brain surrender to the calm person in the room even when the calm person is lying? Here is the question. Why do good people, smart people, freeze the moment a manipulator turns on them? You have felt it. Someone twists your words. Your face gets hot. Your mind goes blank. An hour later, in the shower, you finally think of the perfect thing to say. That delay is not weakness. It is biology. When a manipulator attacks, your brain reads it as social danger, and social danger triggers the same alarm as physical danger. Your body prepares to run or fight. But you are sitting in a meeting, so you freeze. You go polite. You de-escalate. And that is exactly what the manipulator is counting on. Watch a real one work. They never argue the facts. Facts can be checked. Instead, they argue your character. You're too sensitive. You always do this. Why are you making it a big deal? Notice the move. They shifted the subject from what they did to who you are. The moment you start defending who you are, you have already lost, because now you are on trial, and they are the judge. So the real question of this entire case is not, how do I win the argument? It is darker than that. How do you refuse to play a game that is rigged before you open your mouth? Before we take Gary's 31 seconds apart, frame by frame, you need to see the room the way it looked before he spoke, because the trap was already set. Picture the room. A marketing team, 6 people, a Tuesday. Nothing dramatic. Bad coffee and a whiteboard covered in last week's ideas. There was a woman there. Call her Dana. She'd spent 9 days building a report. Real numbers. Real work. And she had caught a mistake. An expensive one, in a project Gary had signed off on. She was not angry. She was prepared. She had the emails printed. She had the dates. That is the part people get wrong about these fights. Being right is not protection. Sometimes being right is what puts a target on your back. Watch where everyone sat. Dana sat in the middle of the table, papers spread out, exposed. Gary sat at the end, back to the wall facing the door. He could see every face in the room. Every face could see him. He did not build that seating by accident. Manipulators do this instinctively. They gather the audience first, then perform. Because a bully never really fights you. He fights you in front of other people. The crowd is the whole point. He does not need to prove you are wrong. He only needs the room to feel a little uncomfortable with you. And let that discomfort do the rest. Dana opened her folder. She started to speak, and Gary just smiled. That smile was not the attack. The attack came 4 sentences later, And it worked because of one tiny thing Dana did without realizing. She hesitated for half a second. And half a second was all he needed. Play it back slowly. Dana says, I found an error in the Q3 numbers, and I think it came from the sign-off, so I... And then she stops. Half a second. A breath. A glance down at her papers. That pause wasn't doubt. She knew she was right. It was courtesy. She was softening the blow, giving Gary room to save face. He took the room instead. Here is the mechanism. A manipulator does not listen to your words. He listens to your rhythm. And the instant your voice dips, the instant you look down, he reads it as an opening, not a fact to answer, a weakness to press. So while Dana looked at her papers, Gary looked at the room. He leaned back, tilted his head, and let a small, patient smile spread across his face. The smile said without a single word, "Isn't this a little much?" And people read that smile before Dana ever finished her sentence. Watch what he did not do. He did not deny the error. He never touched the numbers. Denying facts is amateur work. Facts can be printed, dated, proven. Gary understood something deeper. In a room, feeling beats evidence. Every time. So he skipped the argument entirely and went straight for the temperature. He made himself the calmest object in the room. And calm, to a nervous group of people, looks exactly like innocence. That is the trick nobody warns you about. We are trained to trust the person who is not upset. We assume the agitated one is the problem. But agitation is often just what being wronged looks like from the outside. Dana had the truth. Gary had the tone. And the tone got there first. So he had the room leaning his way. But leaning is not winning. To finish it, Gary needed Dana herself to hand over the last thing she had left, her certainty. And he did it with 6 words. Gary let the silence sit one beat too long. Then, gently, almost kindly, he said it. I think you're remembering that wrong. 6 words. Read them again. There is no accusation, no raised voice. He even used the word think, which sounds humble. It sounds like doubt about himself. But look at what it actually does. It does not challenge the report. It challenges her memory. It moves the fight out of the folder full of evidence and into Dana's own head, where there is nothing to print and nothing to prove. And it forces a choice. Now Dana must either accept that she is confused or insist out loud in front of everyone that her own mind is reliable. And the second she does that, she sounds defensive. She sounds like someone with something to prove. That is the whole machine. He turned her strength, her preparation into evidence of instability. 31 seconds. That is all it took. Dana looked back down at her papers, the ones that were completely correct, and quietly said, "Maybe I mixed up the dates." She didn't. She never did. But now you can see it. The gathered audience, the waiting, the tone that arrives before the truth, the pause he exploited, and the 6 words that hand a person a truth and quietly ask them to distrust it. This is the pattern. It has no volume. It leaves no bruise. And it works on the smartest people you know. We have taken the strike apart. Now comes the harder question, the one that changes everything. Because there was a single move Dana could have made in that half second that would have stopped Gary. Cold. And it is the exact opposite of what your instincts scream at you to do. Here is the move. In that half second when Gary said, "I think you're remembering that wrong," every instinct in Dana's body told her to look at her papers, to find the proof, to dig for the date, the email, the receipt. That instinct is the trap, because the moment she looks down, she agrees to his terms. She accepts that the fight is now about her memory, and that the burden is on her to reload. Looking down is the physical form of doubt. The room reads it instantly. The counter move is almost absurd in its simplicity. She does not look down. She looks at him. And she does not defend. She asks, "Interesting. Which part do you think I'm remembering wrong?" Watch what that does. It hands the vagueness back. Gary's whole weapon was that he stayed unspecified. That, wrong. A soft cloud with no edges to grab. The question forces him to become specific, and specifics can be checked. The second he names a date, a number, a document, he steps out of the fog and onto Dana's ground, where the folder is waiting. He cannot answer without losing, and he cannot refuse to answer without the room noticing he dodged. This is the thing nobody teaches you. Do not beat a manipulator by proving you are right. You beat him by making him be specific in public. Certainty is not volume. Certainty is stillness. It is the person who does not scramble. Dana had all of it. She just looked down half a second too early. But knowing the move is not the same as making it. Because there is a reason our bodies betray us in exactly that moment. A reason buried far below strategy, older than any conference room. And once you understand it, you cannot unsee it in yourself. Understand what happened inside Dana's body, and you stop blaming her. You start recognizing yourself. When Gary questioned her memory in front of the group, her brain did not process it as a disagreement. It processed it as a threat to belonging. And to the oldest part of the human brain, being cast out of the group once meant death. That part does not know the difference between a savannah and a staffing meeting. So it did what it has always done. It flooded her, heart rate up, blood pulled from the thinking brain toward the muscles, and it chose the response it judged safest in front of the tribe. Not fight, not flight, freeze, appease, look down, agree. That is why she said, "Maybe I mixed up the dates." It was not a decision. It was a reflex 300,000 years old, firing in a room with fluorescent lights and printed spreadsheets. And here is what the manipulator knows without knowing he knows it. He is not arguing with your mind. He is triggering your nervous system. The calm smile, the patient pause, the soft 6 words. They are all designed to keep him regulated while you dysregulate. 2 nervous systems in a room, and the calmer one wins. So the defense is not smarter comebacks. It is a slower breath. It is the 2 seconds it takes for blood to return on the part of you that can think. Buy those 2 seconds, and you get your words back. Dana never got the 2 seconds. Gary made sure of it. Which raises the final question. If this works on everyone, if it lives below thought, then how did Dana's story actually end? Because 6 months later, she was still in that building. And so was Gary. But something between them had completely reversed. 6 months later, there was another meeting. Same room. And this time, Dana walked in early. She did not bring a thicker folder. She had learned that the folder was never the point. She brought one thing instead, a slower breath, and a decision made in advance. When the numbers came up, Gary reached for the old move, the tilt, the patient smile. "I think you may be misremembering how." And Dana did not look down. She looked at him, waited one full beat, and said, "Which part exactly?" The room went quiet. Not uncomfortable with her, curious about him, Gary opened his mouth. Then he did the thing manipulators never plan for. He hesitated. Half a second. A glance down at his own hands. And everyone saw it. Nothing dramatic happened. No one shouted. No one was fired that day. But the temperature in the room had a new owner. The calmest object was no longer Gary. It was the woman at the end of the table with her back to the wall. That is how these things actually end. Not with a victory speech. With a shift so quiet, most people in the room could not name it. But all of them felt it. Because once you can see the pattern, the gathered audience, the exploited pause, the 6 soft words, it loses its only power, which was invisibility. A trap that everyone can see is just a chair nobody sits in. Dana never told anyone what she had learned. She didn't need to. She just stopped looking down. But there is a price for learning to see this. And no one warns you about it. Once Dana could read the pattern, she could not stop reading it. She saw it in the meeting where a colleague's idea was quietly reassigned. She saw it in the manager who complimented people only when others were watching. She saw the tilt, the pause, the soft correction everywhere. That is the part they leave out. Awareness is not a coat you take off. It is a new pair of eyes you cannot close. The world does not become darker. It becomes clearer, and clear can be lonely. Because most people around you are still asleep to it. They may call you cynical when you are simply awake. They will feel the temperature change in a room and never know why. While you know exactly why and can name every degree. Dana gained her voice, but she also lost the comfort of not knowing, and she decided quietly that it was worth it. So the real question is no longer about Gary. It is about the mirror. Because if you have watched this far, something has already changed in you, and there is one truth left that decides which side of the table you end up on. Here is the thought that should keep you honest. Everything Gary did, you have done. Smaller, maybe. Softer. But you have used the pause. You have questioned someone's memory when you knew you were on thin ice. You have gathered an audience without calling it that. The move is not rare. It is human. It lives in all of us, waiting for a moment we feel weak enough to use it. So the pattern is not only a weapon pointed at you, it is one you carry. And the person you become depends on a single choice, made in the quiet, when no one is checking. Do you use the freeze in others to win, or do you notice it and hand them back their 2 seconds? That is the whole thing. That is the difference between Gary and Dana. Not intelligence, not strength, just the direction you point the same knowledge, which leaves you with the last question, the one you have to answer alone. Somewhere, right now, someone is tilting their head at a person they have decided is easy, waiting for the pause, counting on the freeze. And that person is about to look down, unless they remember they have a choice. The manipulator's only real weapon was your silence in the 2 seconds you needed most. Take those seconds back, and the entire spell breaks. So ask yourself, honestly, in that room, under those lights, with everyone watching, would you have looked down, or would you have looked up and asked the one question he could not survive? If you seek the truths most people spend their whole lives avoiding, follow. The next story goes deeper into the dark, and it is about the voice inside your own head